So when it comes to what recently happened in Venezuela, a lot of people are saying the exact same things, right? Whether that's Congress didn't approve this is unconstitutional, where is the declaration of war? And I need people to understand something very clearly. There is no good argument here, at least if you're going to apply these questions or your logic consistently. Under the US Constitution, Congress has the power to declare war. Yes, that is true, but the president is also the commander-in-chief, and for over 70 years, presidents of both parties have carried out limited military actions without prior congressional approval. That is not controversial, that is not up for debate, that is not an opinion, that is a fact, and there's precedent. And under the War Powers Resolution, Congress explicitly assumed presidents would act first. This was passed in, I believe, 1973. That law requires the president to notify Congress within 48 hours, not to ask for permission. Congress's check is legislation or funding. Now, if Congress wants to stop a military operation in Venezuela, it knows exactly how to do that. One, you pass a law directing withdrawal, or two, you cut off funding for the operation. Those are the two options. If Congress doesn't do that and continues funding the military, the action is treated as legally authorized under the US Constitution and under constitutional historical practice. That is the law. And what's shocking, not really, is the hypocrisy, because if you were to look at Obama under his administration, America bombed Libya, they carried out drone strikes against multiple sovereign countries, and they launched a full air campaign without a declaration of war. The Obama administration even argued that Libya didn't count as hostilities, Congress didn't defund those military actions, and the courts stayed out of it. There was no issue. Under Biden, the United States struck targets in Syria and Iraq and Yemen and Afghanistan. Again, there were no declarations of war, there was no prior congressional vote, there was no public presentation of intelligence. Everyone's always saying, oh, well, where's the intelligence? Where's the proof? Especially when it comes to Trump and his administration blowing up the drug boats. Yeah, there's no precedent there. And in my opinion, the best thing that the Trump administration could have done is what has historically been done for the most part, and that is to conduct operations and leave it out of the public square. Not everyone in America needs to know exactly and everything of what our military is doing. But in all of these cases, under Barack Obama and Joe Biden, Congress was notified and the funding continued. That is the end of the legal discussion. So when people suddenly demand congressional approval, right, only when it comes to Venezuela, for some reason, what they're really saying is they don't have a legal argument. They have a political argument, a moral argument. It's what ought to be the case, not what actually is the case. The US has long treated this as a national security and law enforcement issue. It's not a conventional war between states. We are not at war with Venezuela.